This is the iconic Starbucks logo drawing that I redesigned from the inspiration of Brandon Shepard by turning his ultra-realistic digital art into a traditional hyper-realistic drawing by only using color pencils. As I've already laid down the groundwork with a basic sketch outline using the tracing method, now it's time to dive into the fine details that are crucial for this artwork. To achieve that, I'll be using the indentation tool, which is currently doubling as my nail art tool. So this step is crucial because once we start shading and making adjustments, this will be quite challenging to go back and correct the errors. Before we dive into shading, I'll grab my kneaded eraser to gently lighten these sketch lines. This is because we won't have any harsh lines interfering with our shading process. Alright, let's move on to the intricate details of our queen's crown. As I'm seeing the metallic gold gradient effect here in the crown, to get started, I'm using the color swatch beginning with the walnut brown for the darker shaded areas. Then I'll transition to dark maple ochre and cadmium yellow to create that stunning gold gradient. But remember, it's really important to leave some areas unsaturated for that realistic touch. I'm now applying these swatches carefully across each section of the crown just to make it realistic with the various ocean themed treasures over the crown. The goal is to use these swatches consistently across the crown by making sure to balance the darks and the lights. And to draw the gemstones or embellishment over the crown, I'm going to use the bright highlights using the Uni-Ball Posca white pen, and with the help of walnut brown color I'll be adding the depth around the details to make it more pop. Now let's move on to face drawing. Starting with the skin, I'm using beige red and Venetian red for a warm and natural flash. Next, for the eyes, I'm using dark indigo to outline the upper eye and iris rather than going straight to black. And for the eyebrows, I'm going to use the burnt ochre and beige red underneath the eyelashes and around the eyes. For adding depth and details to the iris, I'm using a combination of earth green yellowish, cadmium red, dark indigo, and even a touch of black for those dramatic shadows. So don't forget to use the black to enhance the eyelashes. And to make the iris pop, I'm gonna use the Posca White Uni-Ball Pen for the brighter highlights. That's gonna make it pop and narrate it for a realistic look. So here I'm now replicating the same process on the other eye of our subject until it matches perfectly. Moving on to the nose and lips, I'll be using cadmium red, beige red, and Venetian red for the lifelike look. Once the nose and lips are done, I'm going to work on enhancing the facial contour. Here I'll be using the walnut brown, cadmium red, beige red, and white pencil by Derwent. Now transitioning to the neck and chest area, I'll employ the same swatches: cadmium red, beige red, burnt ochre, and walnut brown. Next, to add the shading in the costume, I'll be using walnut brown and dark maple ochre, but remember to leave some of the highlighted areas unsaturated to maintain the contrast. Now let's tackle the hair section. I'll start shading the hair with the dark indigo for the basic outline, as the texture lines of the hair are already indented, so it's much easier to add shading over that. Then I'll be using the cobalt turquoise, light green, cobalt green and dark indigo all together for the gradient effect, followed by the reference image. Now to give the hair a natural touch, I'll be using a craft knife to scrap some details and a Posca white pen for the brighter highlights. You can even use a blending stump to smudge it more further to get a smooth finish natural look. Our hair looks fantastic. Now it's time to move on to the tails behind our gorgeous queen. So for the tail base layer shading, I'm going to use the gold palette that we employed for the crown earlier. Once the base layer is nicely done, now I'm going to add the first layer of the scaly pattern using the walnut brown color swatch. Blend it out with the blending stump, and I'm using also an electric eraser for erasing some shading to make the pattern pop. I'm also adding earth green yellowish color for a touch of water reflection that I will be adding later on. So top it off with the final layer of scales using walnut brown with a hint of black color. So make sure that you blend it very well and use the electric eraser for those eye-catching highlights within the scales. So finally, it's time to add the shading for the water background behind our queen. I'll be using the swatches cobalt turquoise, light green, cobalt green, dark indigo, and a touch of warm gray for this mystical water. Once the background portion is done, now let's add the same stunning details to the second tail as we did with the first. Everything is almost the same, you just have to replicate it again. Once I've nailed down all the details, it's time to do some tweakings, adding shadows, adjusting the highlights to the gold crown, adding flyaway hairs, and also defining some details furthermore where required. And there you have it, our Starbucks logo drawing in a traditional, realistic art. I hope you enjoyed this journey as much as I did. Stay tuned for more exciting content. See you in the next video. Till then, bye!